For the first time since 2015, a man has been executed at the state penitentiary in McAllister. 60-year-old John Marion Grant was administered a lethal dose of drugs on Thursday afternoon. He did struggle and convulse initially before being declared dead after 21 minutes. His death following several days of legal maneuvering that ended with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling the execution could proceed. The High Court also dissolved a stay granted to death row inmate Julius Jones, whose execution date is now set for November 18th. John Marion Grant was convicted of stabbing and murdering Gay Carter in 1998 and sentenced to die for the crime in 2000. He was denied clemency by the Pardon and Parole Board in October and was administered a lethal dose of drugs that resulted in his death at 4:21 p.m. Thursday afternoon. On Monday, a federal judge in Oklahoma ruled the state could move forward with 5 executions. That ruling was immediately appealed. On Wednesday, the 10th Circuit halted the executions of Grant and Julius Jones, but less than 24 hours later, the Supreme Court ruled the executions could proceed. A clemency hearing for Jones was set to take place on Monday, but that's been postponed until this coming Monday, November 1st.
He's been on death row for 19 years and is facing execution by the state of Oklahoma because of fundamental breakdowns in the system that was tasked with deciding his guilt, including the question of whether he deserves to live or die. Those breakdowns include things like inexperienced, under-resourced, overworked public defense counsel. Those breakdowns also include junk science, racial prejudice, and prosecutorial misconduct. So it's those systemic breakdowns that have also brought us here today.
On September 13th, the parole board voted 3-1 to commute Jones' sentence to life in prison with the possibility of parole, following testimony from supporters, as well as family members of Paul Howell, the man who was convicted of murdering in 1999.
Or do you choose to believe the overwhelming body of evidence gathered by countless law enforcement personnel and prosecutors, the factual words of eyewitnesses, the wisdom of 14 judges, a unanimous decision of 12 jurors, the results of multiple appeals court hearings, sworn testimonies, the evidence, the DNA, the facts? The truth of this case lies in the facts and the evidence. It is easy to see if you just look past the lies. The guilt of Julius Jones for the murder of Paul Howell is so overwhelming because it's the truth.
Governor Stitt declined to accept the commutation ruling, saying a clemency hearing was the proper forum to decide Jones's fate. Jones is one of 46 inmates on death row. Richard Glossop is another. Both men have received international attention in an attempt to save their lives. Last Friday, legislator Kevin McDougal hosted a watch party for the Dr. Phil show, where the Oklahoma State representative pleaded Glossop's case on national television.
There's a couple of bills that I've got that I want to create to make sure that we don't put an innocent man to death. One of them would create an investigative unit to where if there's ever a question, the investigative third-party unit could stand up and look at both sides of the evidence, including new evidence and old evidence. One of the things that we don't allow is once you've gone through 2 trials, you're pretty much done. And so if you're guilty or perceived to be guilty and new evidence comes in later on, it's really hard to present that evidence. In fact, if you find a new piece of evidence, you have to present it within 90 days.
The 58-year-old Glossop was convicted of murdering Barry Van Treese in 1997. He's been on death row for 23 years and has been on a death watch awaiting execution 3 separate times. McDougal says he supports the death penalty, but not in this case.
But I think the state right now has done what they need to do to go ahead and continue with death row because we do have a number of people that are costing the state a lot of money that are due to die and they're guilty. But on a case-by-case basis, we have at least 1 and possibly 2 that are innocent of charges, and we have to have a mechanism to be able to get them off of death row.
In addition to Grant and Jones, 3 other death row inmates, Donald Grant, Gilbert Pastel, and Wade Lay, are scheduled to die within the next 6 months, but they too are appealing for a stay of execution. In the meantime, Representative McDougal says there has to be a better way to ensure justice for both inmates and the victims of their crimes.
What I don't want to do is prolong the death for somebody who's guilty. So it would literally have to come from a recommendation of the governor or a vote of the House and the Senate in order to happen.
As of early Friday afternoon, there had been no changes announced for the next scheduled execution. Visit oeta.tv/Oklahoma News Report for any updates.